Hello and welcome to the EmpowHer Collective show, formerly the Dr. Celia Corbo show. I'm your host, Dr. Celia Corbo, entrepreneur, functional health practitioner, and licensed chiropractor. Join us as we dive into stories of remarkable women making a difference and transforming their dreams into reality. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted by the incredible women of the EmpowHer Collective. Today we have Becca Nicholls. Becca is a life and success coach, a somatic practitioner, and the host of There She Glows podcast. Becca's unique coaching style is a concoction of shadow work, somatic therapy, nervous system regulation, and strategy to help women access their true potential, cultivate unshakable confidence, and become an energetic match for their big, bold dreams. Hey, Becca, how are you?
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being on the show. As we were talking before, I'm so happy to have you on. I listen to your podcast. I follow you on Instagram. You are a force, and I'm so happy that I get to share you with my followers and my viewers.
Oh, thank you so much. It's absolutely lovely to be here. And I'm just so excited for our conversation because there's always a feeling, right? When you get on a podcast interview and
Yeah.
you're like, I just know this is going to be so, so good. And that's the feeling I have now. So I'm
Oh,
excited.
thank you. Thank you. Well, can you tell us and our viewers just a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and how you got here?
Absolutely. So back in 2018, I essentially woke up inside of a life that did not feel like mine. And this experience brought me a lot of shame because from the outside looking in, I had my apartment, I had my health, I had my friends, I was in a relationship, I had a government job with a pension and benefits. So I had essentially arrived, right? Everything that society and my parents told me that I was working towards, I had achieved. And I felt so deeply unhappy and unfulfilled and truly terrified that I was going to continue down that path for the rest of my life. And I had that very familiar made for more feeling inside of myself that this could not be it for me. And I refused to believe that this was my path and this was my reality. So from there, I went on a journey of personal development and spirituality and all of the things. And the work that I did on myself led me to finding my passion and purpose in life, which is the work that I'm doing now. And through the modalities that I now use with my clients, I use those on myself and continue to use those on myself to completely transform my life, build the woman that stands before you today, and also build my dream business. And I just feel so, so grateful that this life is mine and that I've put in the work that has been required of me every step of the way in order to manifest this into fruition.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you know what? You have to practice what you preach because if you are not doing the behind the scenes work on yourself, if you're just telling people what to do and then you just live this kind of like half-ass life, it's not going to be that whole big beautiful picture, and you're not going to get what you want from the universe, and you're not going to see those dreams become realities.
Absolutely not. This is one of my biggest motivating factors. This is one of my biggest drivers. This is one of my biggest core pillars is that integrity and embodiment piece. And
Mhm.
although I put in the work, although I make the investments and I do all the things, I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of my success is contributed and attributed to the embodiment and the integrity piece. And the way that I live my life, I hold myself to such a high standard, and I am continually envisioning that my clients and my community and my girlies and my podcast listeners are watching me, and I'm asking myself if they would be proud of me. And that's one of my biggest accomplishments is being the kind of woman that I know if my clients were following me around all day, they would be like, that's my fucking coach, because I know that there are way too many people out there that are really putting on a show and they're really putting
Yeah.
on a performance about who they feel they need to be in order to have a successful business. And because you can't really tangibly see this, people undermine like how important the energetic side of things is. And this is just absolutely massive when it comes to my business, like always making sure that I go first, always making sure that I'm in integrity and I'm the embodiment of my work so that I am the best version of myself and the most qualified to serve other people and quote unquote tell them what to do, because I would never tell my clients to do something that I cannot be held accountable to do.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's one of the things that really drew me to you when I first was introduced to you through a podcast. I'm like, wow, who is this person? She's so authentic, and your authenticity just like oozes out of you. And even though I've never seen your face before, literally, I just found out how you look like a few months ago. Just listening to your voice and listening to your confidence and that authenticity is just like, wow, like this is so moving and I want to be just like her kind of thing. But how did you find that authenticity amidst this journey of discovering who you were?
Yeah, I feel like so many of us don't actually know who we are because we are a product of our conditioning. And that was definitely true for me. Like my whole life, like who I was friends with, what I did for work, how I acted, where I lived, like everything was a result subconsciously of what other people wanted or expected from me. So doing the personal development work really allowed me to get to know myself for the first time. And it's only when we get to know ourselves that we actually get to see, like, who am I? What do I like? Who do I like? What do I want to do for work, right? Because before we don't actually know those things. And so from there, it's like, are you going to have the courage to actually honor that? And are you going to have the courage to make your internal reality match your external reality? And so always listening to my truth and literally dismantling and burning my life to the ground and building it back up in a way that suited me and felt authentic to me was super empowering and just allows me to live a life that feels truly authentic and be my full expression of self, because everything around me is just an expression of me. And something that's really important to me in my life is core values, like establishing what your core values are in life and living in alignment with those. And right now, when I look at my life, when I look at how I lead myself, what I commit to, how I spend my time, those are a direct reflection of my core values. And so everything just feels authentic. Everything feels in alignment because now my life is an extension of me. It's who I truly am and what I truly desire, instead of being a byproduct of societal conditioning or what your parents want or what your family expects of you. And so that's just allowed me to be very, very authentic, because when I look around at my life, like it's all me. So I have no other choice.
Yeah. This is it. You're there. That's amazing. I think one thing that really stood out for me was kind of something that came to mind was I love Louise Hay. I love reading her books, and she always mentions in her books that she hates the word should. And that definitely has this, underlying message of obligation, guilt, resentment. Like, I should do this. I should be in my 9 to 5 job. I should. And I think that subconsciously harbors a lot of low frequency vibrations.
Yeah.
But for people who are trying to break that pattern, because I know for myself, I've even tried to break it. I'm currently still trying to break things open for being my authentic version, but it's so scary. So how did you go about transitioning, and where and what kind of work did you do on yourself in order to start getting towards where you are today?
Yeah, it is really scary and it is really challenging. And there is a famous quote or meme that circulates, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's essentially like choose your hard,
Yes,
right? And it gives
I love that.
examples of choosing
Yeah.
your hard. And being in a job that is soul sucking that you absolutely hate is hard. And being an entrepreneur is hard, right? Being in a relationship that you absolutely hate versus leaving that person and trusting that you're going to find your soulmate is hard. So choose your hard. So for me, it's always been about choosing my hard. And oftentimes, as they say, the hardest thing and the right thing is the same. So along my journey, I have taken big risks. I have disappointed people. I have let things go. I have moved away from things. But in that, I've always been moving towards like what's best for me and putting myself first. And although that is super hard, it is very, very worthwhile. So for me, some of the main things that have really helped me step into this version of myself in my life, number one is shadow work. So back in the day when I started my personal development journey, I was working with a therapist that was really urging me to dive into the deeper work, the darker work. And I was like, I'm going
I
to
don't
actually
know.
pass. Yeah. So how about no? Like, I was like, why don't you just give me like some affirmations and like we can just do that and then I can just move on. And she's like, yeah, in order to rewrite and create a new future, like we have to look at your past. We have to look
Mm-hmm.
at your childhood. We have to look at your daddy issues. We have to look at all the things. And I'm like, wow, I cannot explain how much I am not interested in that option. So I resisted for a bit and then we went down the shadow work path. And I am someone that really values depth and really values intimacy and knowing people on a really deep level, but I'd never given that to myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
shadow work was really my opportunity to get to know myself on the deepest possible level. And that means the good, the bad, the ugly, so that I could see myself for exactly who I am, all things. And I could not be scared of that. And that allowed me, because nothing was suppressed anymore and everything was just laying out on the table, that kind of allowed me to hand select qualities and be like, this is what I want my personality to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is who I'm building. Yes, these undesirable, in air quotes, parts of my personality still exist, but because they're not in my unconscious mind anymore, I can actually fully control them. And so doing that deeper work really allowed me to consciously curate this version of myself that I am today, because I used to be a lot different than I am now. So shadow work was a really, really big part of that. The second thing I will mention is just building up that self-trust within myself. I did not used to trust myself at all, and that did not lead to anything good or positive. And when it comes to confidence, this is one of the biggest things that leads us to confidence. And so keeping promises to myself, being
Mm-hmm.
a woman of her word, standing in my integrity has allowed me to have this very confident energy that I do have, because I know that I mean what I say and I say what I do. And that just gives you like this unfuckwithable vibe that I feel like nothing else has ever given me. And then the last thing, which is a bit of a newer addition to my life over the past year, is that I got certified as a somatic practitioner. So
Ooh.
I've been doing a lot of somatic therapy and a lot of nervous system regulation. This is a massive part of my life and also my business. And this was definitely like the missing piece that I was being drawn to. And actually, because of Alex, which is, I know, the podcast that you found me on, she had my mentor on her podcast. And when I listened to her, Veronica Rotman, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what everything has been leading me towards. And this is the missing piece that is meant to complement my life and my work. And ever since then, I've just felt so unbelievably fulfilled.
Wow. Okay. We have a lot to dive into
So
from that.
much.
I love it. Thank you so much for being so open. It's amazing. We'll talk all about the nervous system. That is my favorite topic of
Same.
conversation. But let's dive a little bit into shadow work, because actually listening to you talk about it on Alex's podcast, I was like, ooh, what's this? I've never heard about it before. I never really, surprisingly enough, I never even really tapped into psychology when I was in my undergrad. I was just really kinesiology focused, took
Mm-hmm.
all of the neuroscience classes, but realized later on, oh my God, I probably should have minored in psych or something, because this has everything to do with the nervous system. So can you tell us a little bit about what shadow work is? Could anyone get certified, or what is it that you work on with clients in order to get them to break through?
Just to make you feel better about your decisions, I majored in psychology and I did not learn a damn thing about shadow work, girl.
The
So
money
don't you even
grab.
worry. So when it comes to shadow work, the basis of it is I base a lot of what I do off of Carl Jung's work.
Okay.
So that dates way, way back.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, when it comes to shadow work, it sounds really scary. I wish that they would have named it something else, but it's actually not. When we're growing up, right? Our personality is formed, our nervous system is formed, our subconscious mind is formed. And so we are just taking in so much information. And a lot of the time, the way that our reality is created and our personality is created is based on the love, acceptance, and belonging that we are either getting or not getting from the people around us based on what we do, say, and achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be certain characteristics that you express. And as a result, you are going to get love, accepting, and belonging from your parents or your caregivers, or you are not. So let's say that you are a little girl and you are very expressive. So when you feel your emotions, you feel them really, really deeply, and your parents are always telling you to calm down, shut it down, stop crying, pull it together, right? You are receiving feedback that that's threatening your love, acceptance, and belonging. So now you become someone that when you're feeling emotionally, you probably hold that back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reflecting on school, if you're that person in class that is always putting up their hand, asking clarifying questions, you get told you're a brown noser, you get told you're a teacher's pet, right? Nothing good comes from that in my experience. So you're receiving feedback that your love, acceptance, and belonging is being threatened by the characteristics that you are currently showcasing. And so through that process, and there's so many other examples that we could use, our personality is formed. And what is on display are the things that have received the green check mark. And what is suppressed and in our subconscious are the things that have threatened our love, acceptance, and belonging. So a lot of people don't even truly know who they are and all of the qualities that are available to them, or their true desires, or their true thoughts, because they grew up in a setting that told them that that is wrong. And that's going to lead to their love, acceptance, and belonging being threatened. So what I do is help people come face to face with all that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just take away who the world taught you that you needed to be, and let's lay it all out on the table so you can accept yourself for exactly who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can be at peace with that. Because oftentimes, the things that are in our subconscious or that are suppressed or rejected, they are still a part of your personality, whether you accept those things or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say that I'm not an angry person and that's suppressed within me, that's the example that I've been using recently that I actually really, really love is like, if you have all of these characteristics and qualities that you're hiding, it's like holding a bunch of beach balls under the water, right? So like,
Yeah.
if you make one wrong move, one of those beach balls is going to come flying out and make a splash. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
happens when we suppress emotions, is that they come out in this really volatile, often shameful way. And then people are like, oh my God, I just had an out of character moment, or like, I don't even know like where that came from, or like, who was that? Like, what happened? And no, that is very much you, but that's a part of your personality that you have suppressed. And so you have very little control over it. So that's what shadow work really is bringing everything to the surface so that we can remove the charge and we can take more responsibility and control for the person that we are and the way that we act and navigate the world.
Yeah. Apart from working with someone, which I always recommend people to do because the stuff can get pretty crazy in a good way, but it can become things that you can't handle because there's a lot of gunk coming up,
1000%.
Yeah. So for people that maybe are not ready to be guided or they just want to start really small, what's a way that you can encourage them to even begin to release some of these emotions or recognize some of these emotions?
Honestly, I feel like in the personal development world, we kind of categorize like light work, light
Mm-hmm.
and love work, and then like shadow work and dark work.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of my personal development journey, as I mentioned, like I resisted shadow work for quite some time. I wasn't ready for it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
honor that. Honor that.
Yeah.
Start with like the affirmations and the meditations and getting to know your core values and just like getting to know yourself on a deeper level so that you can have like a solid foundation and feel like you know yourself and you guys are friends, you're good before moving into the darker work. Like, I don't think that we should force ourselves to do something when we are not ready. And then, as you mentioned, Of course, it's going to sound funny coming from someone who teaches this work, but I absolutely do not recommend doing shadow work on your own. I
Yeah.
have never done shadow work on my own. I've done it in a therapy and/or coaching setting, and it can get really shocking and really uncomfortable because we're doing a lot of responsibility work. So you're starting to see a lot of yourself and a lot of the roles that you have played in relationship breakdowns or things that are a lot easier to stay in like a victim mentality, right? And so having someone there to neutralize and normalize that for you, being in a group of women that are going through the same thing, it's a lot safer and it's just a lot more beneficial and effective. So if you're listening to this podcast or you see a program that's centered around shadow work and you're like, wow, that just like does not feel like something that I am ready for, then that's your sign, right? The best thing we can ever do is just like honor what our body and our intuition is telling us.
Yeah. How does someone know that they're ready for shadow work? Because I feel that with me having done a lot of, you could say, light work, because again, never really heard of shadow work before. I've done a lot of light work, a lot of affirmations, things like that. But how does one know that they're ready to dive into that deep, dark place of their subconscious and seek help for that?
So, two things. I always recommend leaning into your body's intellect and wisdom while making decisions, right? Because you know in your body, like if something is right for you. If I asked you after this podcast if you wanted to go for lunch together or set a date in the future to meet for coffee, you would know instantly if like that's something that you wanted to do, or if you're like, I actually really don't want to do that. I have no interest. So like, how am I going to get myself out of this? So whenever I'm making decisions, I really tune into my body and where my body is guiding me. The second thing is like, you know when it's time, because that thing is going to occupy so much of your mental space, right?
Yeah.
If there's like a coach or a program or a course that I see and I'm just like constantly like opening the email or like going back to the marketing or visiting the website and I just like can't stop thinking about it, this is where a lot of people get it wrong, because we know the woman that we want to be. We know the business we want to build, the relationships we want to be in, the life we want to create. And so we have clarity on that, which is a big part of the manifestation process. But then we're like, please, 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 this is what I want. This is who I want to be. And then the universe drops in the next step that's going to get you to where you desire to be. And you see it and you're like, oh, it's not the right time. Maybe next year. Maybe when my financial situation is a bit better. Maybe when summer's over. Right. And the universe is just like, what the fuck? Like she literally just asked me to help her get to from point A to B. And I just dropped this in. I forced her to not be able to stop thinking about it. And she's like,
not now.
Making excuses. Yeah, like she's making excuses. So that's something that I'm really proud of within myself. Like, even if it has not made sense at all, even if it hasn't been financially the best time to do so, even if I was going through like the home buying process and it probably wasn't wise for me to invest in that thing, I never ignore my intuition and I never ignore things that I can't stop thinking about. And I never ignore where I'm being guided. And that has led me to where I am right now, which is quite literally gagged, shocked at what my life is. Like I'm like genuinely WTF most days I wake up and I have no idea what the hell is going on. But it's a result of me being willing to say yes to things that I knew I needed to do, even when they didn't make sense to me and especially to other people.
Yeah, I love that. I want to just touch on that little piece about listening to that inner voice, because even with me, I told you before the podcast started that listening to one of your podcasts actually inspired me to start something new. And I'm like, I don't even know this girl yet, like face to face, and I'm already inspired by her. So amazing. But it's the EmpowHer Collective. And I'm really surrendering that to the universe, to God, whoever your higher power is. And I'm just, again, like I'm scared because I'm like, what's it going to be? But then there's this little bit of trust that you have. And just like you said, you kind of wake up every morning, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. And really letting the spirit or letting the universe guide you to where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. Because I truly believe we all have like we all have a purpose and it's already predetermined for us. We just have to figure it out. And all the choices that we make will lead us there. But it's like, again, going against that, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. And that's scary because, again, you're going against your beliefs, which have been formed since the moment you were conceived until the age of 7. You know, like these beliefs are so strong. So you have to do a lot of deprogramming and it's scary.
It's so scary. And something I always like to think about is that the desires that are on your heart are there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll have friends that have like aspirations to, I don't know, like run a marathon or like write a book, or they tell me things and I'm like, like you literally couldn't pay me. Like I just have no desire to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's just not for me. And so we have these desires on our heart and we ignore them. And it's like, no, that's on your heart for a reason. Like there are
Yeah.
so many people that don't have any interest in doing that or pursuing that. So the fact that you can't stop thinking about it is a sign that like this is leading you to your true north. And so ignoring that is such a disservice to yourself, but it's also such a disservice to the collective. Like imagine if I was so caught up in my own BS, my own conditioning, my own limiting beliefs that I never started my business. Like that is truly such a disservice to the women that I've had the privilege and opportunity to help guide. Right? That not only impacts me and my ability to find fulfillment in my life, but also the hundreds of women that I've impacted. Because in that, I was actually being so selfish, just sitting in my limiting beliefs and my conditioning and not honoring the desires that are on my heart because I was afraid that people were going to judge me. Or I was afraid of what no, like if that desire is on your heart, go for it because that is of the highest good to you and it's of the highest good for the collective as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you even think of the big names out there these days, they also started with just a little voice telling them to go. And now they're inspiring hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
Exactly.
And it's a build to that eventual point, but definitely you will get there if you just keep listening to that subconscious little voice inside.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's talk then about the subconscious. Let's talk about the nervous system, our favorite topic. When did you fall in love with the nervous system? Because I could tell you mine was in university. I'm like, what the heck is going on inside of us? Like, this is incredible. So when was your aha moment of the nervous system?
When I was listening to Alex's podcast in Q3 or Q4 of 2023, and it was so interesting because I really valued my ability to take my clients so deep and provide them with life-changing transformation. But I knew something just dropped in and I was like, no, like there's something that accompanies this work that I'm doing to really bring it full circle. And it's really beautiful to look back because like when I started out, I was in love with so many different things and I just didn't know what to choose. So I became a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, and then a life and success coach, and then all the things. And it's like now we've been led back to the body again, which is like where I started as well. And when I listened to Alex's podcast, because I was flirting with some things like some certifications that I was finding, and I was like, but for me, I always honor my full body fuck yes. Like that is my thing. Like it has to feel like a full body fuck yes. And nothing that I was looking at was really feeling like that until I heard Veronica on Alex's podcast. So I got on a call with her. She had a Somatic Practitioner certification and we were going to be learning about the female body, the female nervous system. And once I enrolled in that program, my healthy obsession with the nervous system began. And that was all I was reading. That was all I was doing. That was all I was listening to. And it was just like a whole new world opened up for me. And I started realizing that what everyone is teaching, they're all talking about the nervous system, but no one's actually saying it. Like I'd even read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Okay.
And I was like, this is literally a book about like the nervous system, but the nervous system has not been mentioned at all. And so it just felt so like sky opening to me. And I knew, like, I just felt like that last piece of the puzzle, it clicked into place. And I was like, I know that like part of the reason why I was put here on this planet is to help educate people on the nervous system. And it's just been such an incredible journey for me, like to lead people to the point of regulation, but to first lead myself to the point of regulation and allow them to grow and evolve and succeed from that place as opposed to a dysregulated place. It's really been life altering. And I just feel so grateful that I've found this work. And it is a literal crime that we do not learn about it earlier in life because our nervous system controls our entire human experience. So it's a
Everything.
really vital vehicle. And if you don't know how to drive that vehicle, it drives you. And so you
Yeah.
definitely want to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, same. I always learned about the nervous system. I learned about the physiology, the anatomy, the functionality of it, but I really like loved it when I learned about the functional neurology aspect and I learned about the brain more so, the left and right hemisphere and how when those are dysregulated, it affects everything physically, chemically, emotionally.
Yeah.
So what then is the somatic piece of a dysregulated nervous system? Because somatic in my vocabulary means body, right? So how exactly are you regulating the nervous system through this technique?
So I wouldn't necessarily say that my goal in
Mm-hmm.
somatic therapy is regulating the nervous
Okay.
system because they're kind of separate, right? Although
Okay.
they do have a relationship. I will do nervous system regulation with my clients, but
Mm-hmm.
I also do somatic therapy now. So I
Oh, okay.
used
Okay.
to sit with my clients and just like intellectualize everything. Let's talk it out, let's hash it
Mm-hmm.
out. And what often happens is when you start talking about something, you like start to spiral. And this
Mm-hmm.
is why, for a lot of people, talk therapy is not effective.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, like if I've gotten into a fight with someone or something has happened and like I'm calling someone and I'm rehashing the event to them, like I actually feel worse after because I'm
Yeah,
reliving
same.
it. I'm re
Yeah.
traumatizing myself.
Yeah.
And so when I'm with my clients, I have a couple different ways that I do somatic therapy, but we do a lot of somatic experiencing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's experiencing the trauma, experiencing the stressor, experiencing the thing. But I'm doing therapy on your body. So I'm not asking you to intellectualize things. I'm not asking you to talk about things. We're focusing on the sensations and the emotions in your body. So I have a program called Body Language. We do somatic therapy in there. And the journey has really been combining the love that I have for the subconscious mind and shadow work and all the things that I already know with now the body and the nervous system. So for me, it's a very, very comprehensive and holistic approach
Mm-hmm.
that is so, so effective because I'm working with the mind, the body, and the nervous system. And like those
Yeah.
things make up your human experience. So we do a lot of nervous system regulation in the somatic therapy sessions because when
Mm-hmm.
you're actually sitting with your emotions, which so many people are absolutely terrified to do, it can be very dysregulating. It can be very uncomfortable. It can be very scary. So it is integrated into the somatic therapy. But to me, regulating your nervous system is also like its own thing and it's a lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and what are some ways that people can regulate their nervous system?
Absolutely. So I think right now, a lot of people are super interested in the glorified, cathartic, Instagrammable, intense things that we can do, right? And those are
Yeah.
sexy and those are like good stories and all that good stuff. But oftentimes, when we are dysregulated, our body feels unsafe. And
Mm-hmm.
so my life has changed a lot because I was in my sympathetic nervous system for a long time. I was in fight or flight. And my life was so unbelievably intense. First and foremost, I was a 911 call taker and dispatcher. So, like, hello, that's
Yeah.
just like trauma, 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 trauma. Then I would go to F45 like 7 days a week, like hit workouts, like, oh my God, like, let's go. I would ice plunge when I got home. I was just like so unbelievably intense.
Yeah.
And there was already so much mobilization and energy in my body. And then all I was doing was just adding more fuel to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So my life has really changed, and that I'm always looking for ways to bring more comfort and
Yeah.
safety and slowness and stillness. And there was definitely a part of my personality that was attached to the sympathetic version of me and the productive version of me, because I was like, I go so hard all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I am the most productive and effective bitch on earth. So if I start to embrace this soft girl like era, I'm going to lose all my success. And that's just not true. So even though my life has shifted into a lot more slowness, a lot more safety, a lot more stillness, I still get things done. And actually, I'm experiencing the highest levels of success right now than I ever have. But my life is a lot more calm. It's a lot more peaceful, and it's a lot more centered around safety. So drop all the cathartic stuff, right? And start to actually base your life around bringing safety and regulation and comfort into your body and into your nervous system, because it does not feel safe right now.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to you on the like, I used to do Orange Theory and like
Oh,
every day, even if it was just for like half the class to go on the treadmill. I was going to the gym, fasted cardio, strength training. Like I was dieting like crazy.
yeah.
I attribute it to my Sagittarius fire spirit that like I'm such an extremist, but then I'm like, I need to slow the F down. I just need to like relax, because if I keep going like this, I will burn on fire. Like I will just shoot myself in
No,
the ground, and I'm actually not
seriously.
getting anything done. Like I just keep self-sabotaging because I'm trying to do so much more than I can. And then that's leading me to this dysregulated nervous system.
Do you know something?
So maybe.
My sun, moon, and rising
Yeah.
is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius.
God bless you.
Fire, fire, fire. I had never heard of chill in my life. I was
Yeah.
literally allergic to that. Like, I was like, go, go, go all the time, like the most intense person you've ever met. And recreating my
Yeah.
routines and just my life in general to be centered around more of this safety and stillness has been the best thing that I've ever done. But people
Yeah.
don't want to hear that, right? They
No.
want to be able to do like a macro dose of something or sit in cold water for 25 minutes. Like that's what they want to hear, not that like your life needs to change to be slower
Yeah.
and more soft, because that's not
Yeah.
cute, right?
Yeah. With my patients and my clients all the time, it's those small changes that you make that are going to make you overall, in the end result, that big picture better. But making those changes, it is almost impossible for people to do it because they A, have such limiting beliefs, or B, they just can't see themselves doing it and they don't even know how or where to start. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to help you. But they are not even willing to enter into that state of acceptance yet because they're so dysregulated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that mentality will get you in a lot of trouble in life.
Yeah.
My biggest ick is people that are like, well, that's just how I am. Like,
Oh,
it
I
is how it
know.
is. And I'm
I
like,
know.
and that's a choice. So if
Yeah.
that's you, although I have love and compassion and empathy for you, if that's you and someone is suggesting something to you and you're saying, like, well, that couldn't be me, I'm just not that type of person, I want you to finish that sentence by saying, and that's a choice. And that's
Yes.
my choice.
Yeah.
I'm just not that kind of person. And that's my choice, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're actually saying. If you're not changing it, you're choosing it. And so I am my biggest testimonial in terms of I have completely recreated my identity and my life. And if I would have a couple years ago said, oh, I could never do that, like that's just not me, that's just not in the cards for me, that I'm just not that type of woman, then I would still be miserable inside of my life and completely disconnected from myself and my purpose. So my willingness to see myself differently and try new things, even when they were uncomfortable because they were outside of my comfort zone, have led me here. So highly recommend
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
it a shot.
You know what? You just got to try a little bit. And then even if it feels a little icky, I always say, who likes going to the gym? The first time you go to the gym, you hate it. You feel sore the next day. You like, I'm never going back ever again. But then you kind of like crave it. You're like, this actually feels really good. I feel like I'm missing something if I don't do it in my day. And it's just slowly building and slowly introducing these habits into your life. And then it can be the life that you've always wanted.
I am that girl that everyone hates that absolutely loves the gym. I've always loved the gym. I love going to the gym. It's my
Me too.
favorite place. Like when people say like, "Oh, I just absolutely hate it." I'm like, "Oh, I just can't even relate to you at all."
Yeah.
Like it just like makes me feel so strong. And like right now, I think in conjunction with the nervous system work and the somatic work, like for me, it's just my body before everything. Like
Yes.
everything stems from my body. So I'm really in an era right now where I am treating my body like the magical vessel that it is. And I am eating so much differently right now. I'm working out and moving so much differently and with such intention. And my life has changed drastically. So like body before business is just truly everything.
Absolutely. And that's what I teach my clients in my Empowerment Collective is like, if you don't have your health, you can't have a healthy business. It's like you can't have one and not the other. And your business is a reflection of you. I always call it my baby because it's an idea that you birthed into the world and now you're making it this tangible thing. But if you're not going to support it, if you're not going to be healthy and nurture it, you can't expect it to grow and thrive. So with your business and you entering into entrepreneurship, how was it in the beginning? Were you always this, I'm going to take care of my body first, then my business, or did you kind of have to explore the ups and downs before you put the two together?
It's definitely been a journey. I mean, I grew up in an environment where I did witness both of my parents really valuing their health, and they were not strict, but they were very intentional with like what my sister and I were fed, and we were in sports. So it was always a part of my life. But as a woman, I feel like we can all relate to the experience of like going through the ebbs and flows of what true health really means to us. And I think for a long time, I was really focused on how small I could be. And there definitely was a point in my journey where I was focused on weight loss because I moved out west to Lake Louise, Alberta for some time.
Ooh,
and
beautiful.
honestly, a really effective strategy for gaining over 50 pounds would be binge drinking every single night, which is what I did. Yeah. So that was really special. So when I came home, I was like, what on earth is happening? And like, this body does not feel like mine. So during that time, I really learned like the value of eating and focusing on like protein and carbs and fats. And that was a really educational time for me. And I effectively lost that weight. But we all move through those ebbs and flows of like, what is true health? And so there definitely have been like wobbly moments, and there have definitely been moments where I've had like a almost disordered relationship with like eating and exercise because I really wasn't in it for the wrong reasons, or I was in it for the wrong reasons rather. But now it's like, what a beautiful spot to be. Like it's all leading me here. I'm just so in awe of my body's wisdom, its capabilities, the way that it guides me. And so I treat it as such. And eating in the ways that I am right now, like really focusing on macros and just like moving to be strong and moving intuitively. Like last night I went to hot Pilates. Today I went and had like an absolute killer like strength training workout. It's been so beautiful, and I feel just so different. Like I just feel so different putting my body above all else because everything flows from there, right? Like 80% of the human experience is our body communicating with our mind, and then the 20% is our mind communicating with our body. So for so long, I was just so focused on like the mindset work and like thinking positively and all these things, which they're still a massive part of my life. And I'll never discount that, but it's only 20%. So really putting my body first in every way, shape, and form right now, like in my health, in my work, somatic therapy, nervous system, like my lifestyle changes, it's all centered around my body and my nervous system. And that has just led me to feeling so alive, so connected, so light, so strong, so sexy, like all the things. And it's just best. It really is the best.
Yeah. You know what? Same. I think as a teenage girl, unintentionally or intentionally, media is just telling you have to look a certain way. You have to be this much in weight and you have to be like this appealing for boys. And it gets to you, got to me, right? And again, deprogramming that and reprogramming. And now really when I eat, because I used to be like gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, like vegan, all these things. Now I'm like, I eat whatever the fuck I want because I'm nurturing my body and I'm listening to what it needs because there's obviously something that it's craving and I need to fulfill that nutritional desire. And then working it out, like your body's a machine. It does so much for you. You don't even know how much it does for you. Like we are still figuring things out every single day about the body. Just treat it with respect and ultimately just so much love. And then it will be able to perform for you in your business, in your relationships, in your self-love, right?
There's definitely differences that I've been able to witness. Again,
Mm-hmm.
like I started out as a personal trainer, and because I do still have that knowledge, I will help people
Yeah.
in my life in the ways that I can. And there definitely is such a difference in people's ability to get results in any area of their life when they're going at it from a perspective of like hating themselves or being miserable or not believing in the process and dragging their ass versus people who are taking more of the approach that you and I are talking
Mm-hmm.
about. Because when you just move from that place of love and intention and just having really pure intentions and respect for your body, like your body is really on board with that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, right now it's so beautiful to be in this spot. I feel like when I was in my early 20s, I was like, feeling like your 20s are the best years of your life and like this is just the hottest you're ever going to be and like this is what like and it was almost like as I would continue to get older I would be scared of approaching 30 and now I'm 28 so like 30 is right there and I'm like no this
Yeah.
is like going to be it like these are going to be
Yeah.
my healthiest wealthiest sexiest most fulfilling fun years of my life and like I'm just really really looking forward to that. I feel like your 20s can be kind of a mess. Like you're just figuring out yourself and like there's lots of like relationship and like work stuff that inevitably comes up. And then your 30s, you just landed and you just get to, and maybe that's not everyone's experience, but that's been my experience. And it's just so cool to be here because I am going to be like 13 going on 30, 30, flirty and thriving. And I just love that for
Oh, I
me.
love that. Well, I can definitely tell you, turning 32 this year, that it was definitely not, I didn't feel landed, but there's almost like this sense of establishment that you feel in yourself. You've been doing something for quite a while, or,
Yeah.
you've been going through the motions for enough time that you're like, is this it? Or is there more? And the fact with all of the success that you've had at such a young age that you're like, wow, like I've been through all of that and I'm ready for that next level and 30 is going to be amazing. Like that is awesome. Like that is going to be 30s for you are going to be like just so empowering.
I'm really, really excited. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because, like, this is actually my human design. My therapist, she is really, really interested in human design. And so we often pull on my chart. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that my chart says is like my 20s were my experimental
Yeah.
years. And then as soon as I turned 30, like I'm on the roof, like
Mm-hmm.
I've landed. And so it's
Yeah.
actually really interesting that she's been telling me that for the last 5 years that we've been together. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm here and I'm like, no, I actually feel like really anchored into that. Like I really believe that that is my truth. And so whether it be 30s, 40s, 50s, like getting to that place in your life where you feel like you have landed and it's only going to go up from here, while of course there's going to be like human experiences that do take place, like my baseline and my foundation and like what my life is feels so good right now. And I
Yeah.
feel so privileged to be in that spot. And I really hope that I'm able to help more women get right here, right? Where they just feel so fulfilled and so at peace with themselves and their life.
Yeah. So how exactly did you start working with women? Like I want to dive a little bit into your entrepreneur journey. How did you find that this was your calling to help other women? I know usually it's a personal story that comes out of us because we both work with entrepreneurs. But how did you navigate that this is what you're going to do? This is the full-time passion that you're going to follow.
Yeah. It was really interesting. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life that were able to see me in
Mm-hmm.
ways that I was not able to see myself. So I've been working with my like original mentor. She's at Samantha Daly on Instagram since 2018.
Okay.
And I invested in her life coaching program around the same time that I started doing therapy. And we worked together over the years. And I was just so obsessed with the subconscious mind and meditation and manifestation and fitness. And she actually reflected to me on a call. Like she was like, people aren't this obsessed with this work. Like I actually think that this could really be something for you and like
Yeah.
your personality and like your fire and your pizzazz. Like I actually think that you could be a really good coach. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like it was so odd to me because I was like, no, like that's possible for you, but like
Mm-hmm.
that wouldn't be possible for me. But like, thank you so much. And so I started to flirt with the idea of coaching. And even with her, like we mapped out a program. At that time, it was really like fitness related, but I did not believe in myself. And I was like, that was a big belief for me. I would look at other women that were doing the thing. And I was like, that's possible for her and not for me. And I even went on a retreat in 2019, and the two hosts and facilitators were around my age. And I could literally see that they were making a career and making money and like living their dreams. And I was like, but that's like them. Like, that's not possible for me. And so, what I really did was I started showcasing my interests and the things that I was doing and learning from almost an influencer place. Like, I was sharing the books I was reading and like what I was learning about myself in therapy. I kind of documented my breakup. Would I do that now? Probably not. Just things I was really just sharing. And I didn't know that I wanted to be a coach yet. I didn't believe that I would. And so by the time I gathered the tools and the confidence and the strength and the balls to actually own that, yes, this is definitely what I'm supposed to be doing, because I've never loved anything more, I was quite successful off the hop because I had showcased my life. And so even though I didn't have any testimonials yet in my business, I was a massive testimonial for myself, because people were like, over the last couple of years, I've just watched you go from heartbroken, disconnected, miserable, hating your job, hating this, and now we're here. And it was very obviously different. And so they're like, I want to have that experience. And so that's where my life coaching program came in for the first time. And then it's just evolved through there. So that was the one and only time I would say that I wasn't really listening to the call. And I've never done that again, because I love what I do so much. And I wish that I would have been able to start doing it sooner. But at the same time, like, I know that I needed to go through all the things that I went through personally and professionally to be ready to hold space for women and coach them. So if it wasn't for Sam reflecting that to me, I don't know where I would be. And I still work with her today. And so for us to have started there and now like celebrating the things that we're celebrating currently in my business, it's like so beautiful to have her with me, because she's really seen me from the beginning. And like, that's the power of mentorship. It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. I think a coach needs a coach, you know,
1000%.
Like, a chiropractor needs a chiropractor, because you are doing and taking on so much from your clients. And if you are an empath as a coach, which I am, I absorb everything, and I have to literally put up this like shield. So that way I can just be compassionate and not absorb, but it helps to have someone that you can look to as a guiding light in changing your patterns, changing your routine, so you know how to guide others with more ease and also with more certainty, because it can get a little overwhelming.
I have 4 people in my corner. I have 2 coaches and mentors. I have my therapist, and I have a somatic practitioner, let alone like the support that I have in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is no award for doing it on your own. And in fact, it's going to take you a lot longer and be a lot harder. So that was like originally my personality. Like, I was that girl that was like, I'll just do it like on myself. Like, I don't need help. Like, I can figure this out on my own. And letting myself receive like love and support and guidance has been game changing, because that's where the time collapse conversation comes in, right? Like, yes, I could have taken the last like 7 years, like figuring it out on my own, or I can invest in a 6, 12, 16-week program that gives me absolutely everything that I need, or invest in a mentor that's already done all the things that I want to do, so they can help me collapse time and get there way quicker. So help is available for you. And it's truly such a beautiful thing, because the way that my life has transformed, like over the past like 3 years specifically, but like this year majorly, it's like, I will never take full credit for that. I'm so grateful for the people that I have in my corner, and I'm grateful to myself for like allowing myself to be held in that.
Yeah. One more question before we come to an end, but what would you say are like red flags, green flags for picking a good coach? Because Instagram is saturated with coaches, and I swear every story I see, it's like, buy my program, do this, do that. So how would you filter your, your list of what would be a good coach, or some things to look out for?
Number 1, always accessing your own intuition.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a lot of times where I've just gotten like a really bad vibe from a coach or a mentor or just people in general. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
other people really like them or other people have had good experiences with them. But honoring your own intuition, there's only been one time where I've not honored that. And it came back to bite me so unbelievably hard. And my intuition ended up being correct. And I wish that I would have honored that. But that situation also prepared and primed me for the way that I am now, which is like holding myself to such a high standard, because I would never, ever, ever want anyone to have that experience that I had
Mm-hmm.
where they invest in someone and they're a complete disappointment and a fraud. So I
Yeah.
know that that's what that situation was preparing me for. Number two, I would say like getting on a call with someone, right? Because the way that people present online can be very, very different.
Yeah.
And so, especially when I'm working with someone on a one-to-one capacity, like we must get on a call, because I want you to get a good vibe from me. I want to get a good vibe from you. That's really, really important. And energy just does not lie. And then
Mm-hmm.
number three, I would be really, really cautious in paying attention to what they are doing, not necessarily what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
I say a lot of things, but like watching my stories and even like looking at me, you can tell that I hold myself to a specific standard,
Yeah.
right? I don't just like talk about going to the gym or taking care of myself. Like you can tell by the way
Mm-hmm.
that I look. And
Mm-hmm.
so paying attention to the things that people do in their lifestyle and whether or not they are the embodiment of what they say that they're doing, like talk really is cheap.
Yeah.
But most of all, just coming back to like how it feels. Like I've known when I've been meant to work with someone, and I've also had like really bad vibes towards people that other people absolutely idolize, and then the truth always ends up coming out. So those are the three things I would say.
Yeah, definitely actions speak louder than words. Yeah. That's
They
like
do.
my motto. If you're not doing it, or if I don't see somebody doing what they say they're doing, I'm like, okay, that's not for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah. That's
So
nice
you
that you
hold
live
your
your life like
clients
that.
to a higher standard than you hold yourself to. That's really interesting
Yeah.
and actually something I don't relate to at all.
Yeah, no, you definitely need to have that clarity within yourself, because then if you don't have it, the people you attract to work with you, they're also going to be, unclear, uncertain. They're just going to say they're going to do something, they're not going to. And then you're going to start seeing yourself in your clients or in the people that you surround yourself with. And you're going to be like, what's going on? I should probably change what I do and who I am.
Is not the truth. And like
Yeah.
we've all been there, right? Like I
Yeah.
have done work over the years, but right now, like my private clients, ooh, they're all a reflection of me. And I
Yeah.
see that. And they're a reflection of everyone, because I really do believe like in the law of one, and we all are connected.
Yeah.
But right now, like my private clients, they care so much about their integrity and their embodiment, and they're so hardworking and they're so heart centered. And I'm like, damn, this is what I'm attracting right now,
Yeah.
because this is a reflection of myself and my values. And this is also really important to me, because like one thing about me, I'm very open about like who my private clients are. Like I'll kind of give like a breakdown on my stories of like, here's what I'm doing today. I have a one-to-one call with here and here and here. And no one is going to be associated to me and like be a fraud. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I will never have someone like publicizing that I'm their coach and then they're doing like really shady, like leaky shit behind the scenes in their business, because that's
Yeah.
also a reflection of me, because I'm your mentor.
Yeah.
So I also hold my clients to a very high standard, and I'm not afraid to be momentarily disliked by them in order to like force them to kind of shift into who they need to be as a coach and a mentor or an entrepreneur or business owner. And so my coaching style is like definitely not for everyone. And like that's what I've learned, because some people really do need a coach that's just going to be like, oh, like you didn't do that. Oh, like that's okay. Like things happen, and like
The
no
coddle approach.
worry. Exactly. And that is just not fucking me. And I feel like that is
Yep.
really clear after listening to this podcast that like that is not me.
Yep.
And when I get on calls with my clients, if like we've been working towards something or there's something that they were supposed to execute and they haven't, like they're going to have to explain to me why not, right?
Yeah.
And just having that like kind of healthy little bit of fear, not fear in the sense of like I'm not going to love them or anything like that, because it comes from a place of love, but it's just like being held to that like high standard. Like having someone like hold you to that high standard it's really like such a motivating thing in your life.
Yeah, you are holding them accountable to the potential that you know
Yeah.
they can achieve, right? You just have to let them see it and meet you there, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sign of a good
100%.
coach. That's
It was
definitely
so
it.
funny. I had a really funny like one-to-one session yesterday, and I called her out like for sure. And I don't think she was expecting it, but we got to like a really, really good place. And then later on her Instagram story, she gave kind of like a breakdown of her day. And she was like, you know, yoga at this time, whatever at this time, got absolutely schooled by at Becca Nicholls in a coaching session in the best way. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's what I'm like really known for, is like calling people out,
Yeah.
helping them like transform their self-concept, raise up to like a higher standard, be a woman of integrity. I'm like, that is sexy. Like if you're going to be known for anything, like that is sexy. And I just absolutely love that. And sometimes that requires me to be polarizing and be disliked by people, but I don't care, because I'm in the business of holding people to the absolute highest standard and helping them reach their fullest potential. And I honestly do not care if people don't like it.
You know what? In order to be successful, you're going to have people love you and you're going to have people hate you. You're not everyone's cup of tea, but as long as
join the line.
as long as you love yourself, honestly, that's all that matters. And that's the most important person to take the criticism or the message from. Yeah.
1000%. And like, you have to get a little bit like Delulu and humorous with it, right? Because I'm like, imagine hating me and I'm just like living my best life, like in like a healthy, happy, wealthy era of my life. Like you can hate me if you want. And like, I'm still out here like literally thriving. So
Yep. Just mind your business. Everyone just mind your business. Yeah, exactly. Well, Becca, it was such a pleasure having you on the show. Where can everyone find you in the virtual world, on Instagram or on the World Wide Web?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Beck Nicholls. So Becca without the A. And then you can also come join me every single Thursday on my podcast, which is called There She Glows. And my website is under construction right now. So we will just leave that.
It'll be beautiful when it's done.
It's going to be so beautiful. I'm actually so excited, but it's www.beccanichols.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and all of your wonderful insight. And for everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to the EmpowHer Collective show. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights from today's episode. If you're ready to take your business and your well-being to the next level, we would love to help you on your journey. Don't forget to join our free Facebook community linked below for ongoing support and resources. And if you're looking for personalized guidance, book a one-on-one call with me, also linked below. Let's balance your brain, your body, and your business so we can continue to empower you and elevate you to success. We'll see you at the next episode.